board and we're going to get started. And before I turn this over to Deep, I want everyone to know that even though I was able to kick George out of the host role, he was amazing and basically had these lesson plans, because this is the first official time. We did a dry run of emerging agents a few months ago. And it was amazing. That's how we got the 8-week series. And now we're building upon it. So if there's anything that you guys find that we need to add to it, please let us know. But he gave us some bullet points. Deep, Liz, and I are going to try our very best to hit every one of these. But anyone who's been on these calls knows that George is very long-winded. He uses a lot of words, and he put a lot of words in bullet points as well. So we are going to try our very best to be on point with this for your time and for ours. We're just going to be respectful of everyone's time. So I just wanted to point that out. So if you see us looking over like, what does he mean? It's because we're trying to go off of George's notes and add in our own flair and insight. So with that said,
we're going to wing it.
Yeah, basically. That was a long explanation of we're going to wing it.
Guys, what we're going to do is make it easier. We're going to go through some sections and we're going to take a break, and we're going to let you guys come up with questions if you have. Put your hand up and everybody can be in the queue, and then we can jump in this. So initially this is a very crucial part of the time of the shift that's happening with buyers. You know, a lot of people don't want to work with sellers or don't want to work with buyers. I think this is going to change because there are buyers out there still looking, and if they're looking, that means they're serious. They're not worried about the interest rate. They need a house. They have a family to feed, to live. They need kids to go in the right school. So please, I think, you know, it's time for us to tweak our skills when it comes to buyers. I know last 2 years it was much easier. You know, you bought a buyer, you took them, you showed them a house. Yeah, you got to put 50,000 over asking, no appraisal contingency. Those days are over, and it's already started. If you haven't felt it yet, I felt it 3 months ago. So I'm seeing with my listings, when I'm representing buyers, I'm able to negotiate better. So please use these tools. If you have any questions, you know, we are always here to take calls, you know that, even after the calls. So first, initially, we're going to start with is be very learning based. You know, I'm going to put few, Tiffany, whenever you get a chance, put that attachment in the, or Joe, put the attachment that George gave. We're gonna talk about, you know, just the basic. We're gonna run over a couple of basic bullet points. When we talk about learning based, everybody who's on the call, they are already learning based because they've showed up here at 8:30 in the morning and listening to me, Liz, and Tiffany, and sometimes George. So really appreciate that. You guys are one step ahead. The only thing I would say is start implementing. Showing up is not good enough. I'm on the calls all the time. People tell me I don't need to be on the calls, but I always find a nugget, something I can tweak my business, something I can bring to somebody else's table, make my buyer's life easier or the seller's life easier. So we put in 3 coaches. They're the top real estate coaches in our business. Tom Ferry, Mike Ferry, Ricky Crude. Follow them on YouTube, follow them on, sign up for their email blast, sign up for anything and everything. Everything is free. Yes, they're going to start targeting you with going to their coaching events, those kind of things. There's nothing wrong with those. You have to be mindful that you got to grow. Always, you know, keep that in. The days you decide that you know everything, that's the day you're done. You should get out of the business, hang your license up, don't pay your dues, and move on. That's one of the tips I will do. I'm always, I think, Tiffany, I think somebody's mic's on.
Oh, come on.
Raymond's mic's on.
But can I piggyback off of the being learning-based thing, especially for emerging agents? One thing that I found myself doing as a newer agent, I was overwhelmed by all the training. I was like, take all the training, yes. And I felt like I was running around with my head cut off because I would take this class and then try to do something, but then hop into another class. And at the end of the week, really, at the end of a couple months, I realized I had a ton of half-finished projects because I was so involved in getting into a training, and then I'd try to do what I could before I got into the next one. So one of the best training tips that I could give anyone is please be purposeful about which trainings you take and when. so that you are able to execute and apply what you just learned before you move on to the next thing that betters your business. For example, first week work, if you're going to work with buyers first, then I need you to take all the buyer classes during that time frame, all the buyer related classes. You can take the listing classes later, of open house classes later. Don't worry about that. Worry about like these types of classes. Go onto YouTube, as they have said. Go into, if you're with EXP, go into Workplace, into the on-demand training, into Workplace, into our page. We have so many of our recorded trainings. Our recorded trainings are also on YouTube. So please, please be mindful of which trainings you are taking at what time. And I don't mean at what time of day. I mean at what time in your business. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to be SOL. And if you have a break in your business, let's say you've gone through and you've taken all the buyer classes you could take, you feel really good and solid, don't rest on those laurels. Start taking the listing classes then, because I lost about 3 months. It was great because I took in a lot of info, but then I had to stop for about 2 months to actually apply and work on the things that I had learned. So don't do that, because you're going to be going back and forth. So thank you, Deep, for allowing.
I'm so glad you tapped into that part, Tiff. It's because I always forget, doing this for so long. It's like how to put my pants on, right leg, left leg, put the button on, zip. I do this, and you're new in the business, so I'm so glad you brought that up, because pinpointing and saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to focus on, and this is what I'm going to achieve. It's like, going to the gym. Hey, I'm going to do cardio. I'm going to do 20 minutes of cardio. I'm going to finish the 20 minutes. I'm not going to just do 5 minutes and go to do abs. Don't do that. It's finish the task. Luckily, we even have on, I think, EXP World, they have a whole series, it's called Fast Start series. And I think section 109, from the 109 to 112, is all about buyers. So they're really doing a good job. EXP is going to be pretty soon, that's what I heard, have all these trainings on a particular modulars. They already have some of them coming up, but it's going to become mandatory. Mandatory means you're going to be able to go, or we'll be able to go in the back, or Tiffany can go in the back and look at who's completed and who's not completed. There's, George and Tiffany and the whole group's done an amazing job putting the checklist. But what I see, and if I was in your position or a new agent, I would skip a lot of that, because it becomes very lengthy and nobody has a track record who's done what not. And me and Bobby do a mentee call Wednesday just for our mentees for 1 hour every week. And we notice everybody says they've done it, but not all of them have completed it. They think they watched it. I would say 50% have watched it and they're really practicing it. The other 50 say, oh yeah, I watched it. It's not something you just watch, driving by or put in the car. It's something you really, especially when it comes to training, you really got to step it up. Liz, you want to step in for a few seconds?
Yeah, guys, I have to piggyback with both Tiffany and Deep. When we talk about training and we talk about being learning based, Deep has been in the business for 17 years. I've been in the business for a little over 4, and Tiffany has been in the business, and in production for some time. And we all come across a transaction that is never the same. I'm dealing with something right now that I never knew would have happened unless I would have been in this transaction. And it's crazy how things have changed. Right now, this is the time to double down on your lead generation, especially with buyers, because, 4 or 5 months ago, you were able to you weren't able to negotiate anything. Most people were giving away their third child that they didn't even know existed in order to win a house. Now you have people who are paying closing costs, doing the price reductions. You're getting things under contract, way below list price, plus repairs, plus concessions towards closing costs. So it's imperative to, if you just got in the business when we were dealing with this boom, where you couldn't negotiate a freaking thing. Now you're able to do these things. And I'm coming across things like on my listings where people don't know how to properly write up an addendum for a repair. So this is the time to really sharpen up on those skills in order to be a better agent and to keep yourself, in the know, keep yourself, relevant and know what you're talking about. So that's kind of where I got, as far as like being learning based, like being on these calls every single day. I agree with Deep 100%. Like they set the tone for the day. You should be able to finish this call and get at least 1 or 2 nuggets out of it and then implement it into your business. Don't try to do everything at once, as Tiffany has said, because you're going to it's a water hose of stuff. Figure out how you want to run your business, what you want to focus on. And right now, as Deep said in the very beginning, buyers are still there. We're still in the seller's market. However, like the buyers are still there and they're serious. So get with them, make sure you're having the right conversations. And that's something that we're going to jump to in the next section. So Deep, do you want to move on to the next section or do you want me to take it away?
Take it away. Start.
Okay. Alrighty, guys. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the initial meeting, like when you're having your consultations with your buyers. I think right now this is the most important time to have a full-on buyer consultation if you have not already. And the time to perfect it is now. Actually, I would say yesterday. Guys, I will apologize really quick. I am on my phone. So if you are typing any comments, I will have Tiffany and Deep run with it, but okay. So but yes, like making sure that you're perfecting your buyer consultation is key right now. You need to be able to know the motivation of your client, whether it's not, hey, I want to be a homeowner. It's, hey, if I don't purchase my home, my lease is up in 2 months. Therefore, they are not allowing me to renew it. So I will be homeless. That is the real reason. And remember, logic makes you think, emotion makes you act. You need to always find out the emotional part for any buyer's move and why they want to purchase. Because logically, they're like, oh, well, $100 more, I don't know, that sounds like a lot, but it's just like, are you sure that you're going to let the house of your dreams go away because of $100? And you target the emotion. So that is probably the most important thing for me, is really doubling down on your conversations when you're having your buyer presentations, asking a lot of questions, because as you're going through, and this is something that I tell my clients when I'm doing a buyer consultation, I'm only going to, prior to this crazy market, I'm only going to show you 5 properties. And if, because our conversations when we're at this buyer consultation is going to be about it's going to be about an hour, maybe a little longer. But I want to make sure that we're having the conversations. I get to know you as a person, what's important to you and your family, so that when we're going out to see those 5 possibilities, if you did not decide to make an offer on any 5, I didn't do my job right because I didn't listen. So that's just something that's huge for me. I think right now in this business, in this market, the way we are shifting, we're going to see a ton of inventory pop on the market, guys. We're already starting to see it. So we shouldn't have to go show 15, 16, 17 properties the way that we did a couple of months ago, where things were going pending as soon as it hit the market. So we didn't even have the opportunity to go to see those homes, or we're submitting freaking 15 offers before one offer gets accepted. We should be able to go through, look at the property, look at the specs, make sure it fits our client's needs when we are having our conversations and our buyer consultations, to be able to take them out to only see those 5 or 6 properties. And if they don't submit, again, like I said, if they don't submit an offer within those first 5, hey, I didn't listen right. So what changed? Then you go back to the conversation and just say, okay, so you told me during our consultation that this was important to you. All 5 homes that we showed had this. So did something change here? And you always revert back. So I think that's something that we should all start doing and start implementing. If you're going to be working with buyers, that's something that I have done, because I'm sorry, I got a baby. I don't got time to be driving all around Timbuktu. I'm just saying. Deep, what do you have to input?
I love going to Timbuktu, so forget Liz. Call me. So exactly what Liz said. It's gonna get difficult. Okay, people are out there who are very serious. What like we always talk about this when it comes to listings, when it comes to anything. L and Q. What Liz said: listen and question. 99% of the time, if you have the right question, you're gonna get the right answer, and you're gonna have a better roadmap. It's no different. Like, you know, Liz telling me what she wants. If I don't bring her there, that means I'm not listening. You know, and that same goes with the buyer. Buyers, you need to find their core why. It's the zip code, it's the school district, it's the kids. Your job in the first conversation that you have is to make them feel so welcome, connected with you, that they don't click on anything else. That's my biggest turn on thing I try to do. Alina's on the call, she can tell you, I can walk in a room and start conversation. I try to connect at some level. I don't try to, it's not all about business 99% of the time for me. 1% it is. That's the only way we pay our bills. So, but the 99% of the time, it's all about connecting. Why? Guys, if the market is shifting, if you work with these guys now for the next 2-3 years, when you work with only buyers, these buyers are going to convert into your listings. They are going to be your referral partners. They are going to be the ones sending your information to Tiffany and say, oh, call Will. He was amazing. You got to use him. That's what happened. Our business last year, we did 47 transactions. 85% was referral. What I mean by referral, I just want you to grasp this, wrap it around your head, like deep, some back part of the, put it like as if it's a trigger, put it in there so you remember this every time you come up with. Those people call me and said, Deep or Alina, I want to look for a house. Great. What were you looking for? That's all we had to do. We didn't have to impress anybody. We didn't have a presentation. They came sold, as if they've already been to our show before and they're coming for a second show. It was so much easier, and you'll realize, holy shit, excuse my language, that years down the road, oh my God, when he said that, it's so true, because the comfort value is already gone. When Tiffany gets a referral from somebody, says, go use Liz, Tiffany's already done that heavy lifting for you. Literally, the only thing you do is now you connect with them, make sure you find their whys, what's the purpose, why they're moving, price point. The biggest complaint I hear from agents, and I get so many buyers that have already worked with few agents and they're sick of them, they don't listen. The biggest is price. Their budget is $350. They don't get one listing for it's everything over 400,000. I don't get it. It's list LQ. I don't know how many times I'm going to repeat this in the next 1 hour. This is so crucial. The only thing you need to do in this market is educate them a little better. Look at your comps daily. Look what happened today. Does anybody know how many Orlando guys, anybody know how many listings came on the market today? 157. How many price reduction? There were 189. I keep track of that. Why? I can have serious conversations. Hey guys, more listings coming on the market. That means you're gonna have a better choice. And same thing, people always afraid to ask them, oh, I don't ask them if they're pre-approved. No, create a very easy, hey Liz, just want to know, are you going to pay cash or are you paying financing? How simple was that? It's that simple. You are a professional, you're doing work. They need to know that this is all you do. And you know, in our business, we already know 15% of the people do 85% of the business. So they need to know that. And going back to the complaint, it's so simple. It's the only thing I've changed in my in this shifting market. If somebody has a budget for 350, I send them up to 375, and I explain to them why. I said market's different, it's shifting. You might like something, a 30-year mortgage for $25,000. It's going to be a couple of dollars a month, but if you really like something, we can negotiate. Oh,
We
what
couldn't
is
do
that?
that a couple of months ago.
You couldn't do that 3 months ago. You couldn't do that a year ago.
You had to go 50,000 under in order to find something for people. I'm sorry, Deep, I had to piggyback off of
No,
that.
that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. And it's very crucial, because if you don't educate them, you're not doing a good service to them. Like,
Yep.
it's better off they should have just stuck with the other agent. If I don't go fight for them, negotiate in this market, you're never going to do it. This is where real estate comes to action. What we had last 2 years, and we talked about it, we're going to lose around 300,000 agents nationwide. It's going to happen. It happened in the last crash. It's going to happen now.
And it's already
our-
happening.
It's already happened. Yeah. I see people
Already.
not responding. One of them, so some of these clients are saying they're not getting back to us fast enough, because they already figured out how to exit through the real estate. Go ahead, Tiff, you want to jump in?
Sorry, no, I was reading the chat and my reaction was, oh, because Deborah put in there, she just closed on one she got for 450 and it had appraised at 535. I was like, oh, that's what the jaw drop was for. Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
Talk about
people are
locking in with some
actually,
equity, right?
that's what I was gonna say. People,
Yeah.
that's the opportunity that we have for our buyers right now. They, with interest rates, interest rates are going up. We all know that. But again, people get credit cards with a 26% interest rate, 28%. So 6-7% for a house is not bad when on the grand scheme of things. But people are gonna go in with some serious equity now. So guys, this is the time to really double down on your lead gen to make sure that you're doing your job and your service and servicing your people correctly. And I like to use the word service because, we don't sell homes, we service our people. And when you change the mindset where you say, hey, I'm not selling a house to that person, your entire business is going to change. Like, that's just how you have to think about it. Yes, there is some sales to it because it's a transaction, absolutely. But when you service your people, I'm telling you, they will tell their mama, their grandmama, their whole nine that, hey, you need to work with Deep, you need to work with Tiffany because they gave us outstanding service. So I just think that's huge, huge, huge right now, especially in this market that we're in. But yes, like, sellers can buy down rates. A lot of people didn't know that was an option. Even builders. I was talking to a builder from Lennar 2 days ago, and she's like, yeah, we're paying. And if you were in the Florida area, Lennar was only paying out 0.75 or even below on commission. Now they're going back up to 3% plus bonuses, and they're buying down the buyer's rates plus paying closing costs.
Keith, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing that might be relevant to folks. When I work with a client and I bring on that client, I tell them, you know what, Joe, I don't even consider myself a realtor. I'm not a realtor. I'm a problem solver. And during the course of this transaction, there's going to be 3 or 4 problems that are going to come up that you and I are going to solve together. And by the end of it, you'll get the house. So, as you guys said, talking about service, I actually come out and use the term problem solver throughout the transaction and remind them that we're solving problems along the way. And in my last review, the guy put problem solver. So it's messaging, like, I'm not just a realtor. There's 7 million realtors. Some of them give great service, but my team, we're problem solvers. We solve problems to get you results. So maybe folks want to use some of that messaging.
I love that. That's amazing.
I love that. That's a
Thank
huge
you.
nugget for me.
Yeah, that was amazing, Kate. Thank you. Going back to what Liz said, know your partners, know your lenders. They need to know, or you need to know what the rates are going at. A lot of people don't even realize what rates have adjusted to. They think, oh, it's around 7%. It's not. It's still, you can still get in the mid fives. You can buy down your rates. What Ali put in the chat. Some people I've already seen some people are going back to the adjustable rate that got us in the last crash. But in this market, it might work for them because the rates are more lower, and in 3 years they can refinance. So it's very crucial you have a key partner on your side, and whoever you use, if it's Ali or somebody else, they need to educate you, or you need to educate yourself, making it impact, saying that, hey, what are the rates to stay, or what's going on in today's market, just to find out. And that's the way you're going to educate your buyer. And 80% of the 90% of the time, buyers have no clue. If somebody really looks back in 2005, 6, what was the interest rate? It was between 6 and 7%. Nobody remembers that. Everybody's got amnesia or something that, they only remember the 2.5%. It's not 2.5%. It was that, and the market was still crazy. So when you have these deep personal conversations, problem solving conversations with your client, these are the message that goes in, but you got to do it in a different approach. It's like, Liz, Liz says, interest rates are a little high. I said, what do you consider high? I said, do you know in 2008 the interest rates were this? And they're like, holy shit. And I can guarantee you they have no clue that was the rate in 2008. So it's exactly what they researched or looked at, and it's stuck in their head. So
and guys, really also keep in mind, and just to piggyback off of what Deep is saying right now, guys, like, if your buyers are serious, this is what you tell them. Somebody said this to, I believe it was Holly, I forget, but it's date the interest rate, marry the house. If you can afford this house with this interest rate, if it goes down, just refinance. But if this is your dream house where you think you're going to start your family, or you're downsizing for whatever reason, if this is your house, marry the house, date the interest rate. That will change the game for all of you, I can assure you.
I've actually used those same words with my clients when they balk at the rates, and I say, you date the rate, but marry the house. Is this the house that you want? And they'll sit there, and at the time the answer was no, but then they had it in the back of their mind for the next time, and we went under contract with it. But after that, they shifted. They weren't like 7% for this all the time. Oh my gosh, it was, no, this is the house, and we'll worry about the funds later. Gina, your hand's up, and then we have Pau.
The more people that I've been talking to that have bought houses years ago keep saying that 13% was the interest rate. So anything under 13, we're all doing good. So to me, it might be higher than it was, but it's still nothing compared to what it was before that. So, 5 and 6%. Still, I keep telling my clients that it's still, it could be a lot worse. So it just wasn't like 2, but now it's like 5 or 6. And like Deep said, it is only, $50 more or whatever if you do another, 50, 25,
15 grand.
Yeah. So it's like, people don't really understand. I have to give them a whole math equation, explain to them it's not really, like they look at the extra numbers and they think it's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars more. It's not. It's like $50. So that's that. Bye.
Pau.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, I'm new to the field, and I just had my first showing by myself yesterday. And how do you elaborate what you just said? I can't remember the lady's name when she said marry the house and date the interest. How would you elaborate that in a more common vocabulary for people that are so new, like first-time buyers, and they ask you, what do you mean by that? How would you explain it in plain language?
I would tell them that the rate can be temporary. in that sense, so that you're dating it, but you're not committed and stuck with it for the rest of your life, because you'll be able to refinance once rates decline, or when you've paid stuff off, and then you can take the PMI off, things like that. All of these different things can be done after the fact. So I tell them, you date the rate for a year, 2 years, whatever it may be, possibly 5 years. But after that, you refinance and your rate decreases. You still have the equity in the house because you've been paying on it. And you obviously you've married the house. It's your house. So that's the dating part, is the temporary, versus marry, which means you're committed. Like, you want that house, you are committing to living, possibly dying in that house, versus the rate can be gone in a year, 2 years, 5 years.
Okay, got it.
Does that help?
Yes, definitely. It did help. Thank you so much. And then also, how do you go? Are you telling buyers, are you pre-approved, and or how do you go about that?
Ooh, that's awesome segue, because George does have that on here.
Because
we were gonna get there. We will get there eventually. Going back to your question, it's a great question, especially with new agents. It's really difficult to, to explain, it's just interest rates are high now, it's going to change. Give you an example. I have clients and family members who bought a house 10 years ago, and they have refinanced the house 4 times. So that's a very big example, because initially it was at 8%, it went down to 5, 4, and it went down to 2.5. So they've done that. So nobody's stuck with that rate. Rate is fixed. So if they buy something today, whatever rate they get, 5.5, 5, 6, they're stuck for 30 years. But in 2 years down the road, when everything goes back to normal, our real estate comes back to normal, our regular economy comes back to normal, inflation starts going down. In that sense, the feds are going to reduce the interest rate. At that time, they need to have that serious conversation with their lender, whoever that is, or your partner, and explain to them, hey, if you do this, this is what's going to cost you. This is what's you're going to be able to save almost couple of $1,000s a year, those kind of things. But at least they have a house, they need a house. I think the biggest question, the main question that you brought up, and I see that with new agents, is to have that conversation about the pre-approval letter. And we're going to get into that right now, like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of agents have these, they're getting leads from the free sites, such as OpCity, Ojo, Zillow. Nothing wrong with that. Take them if you're getting them free. And what I mean by free, there's no cost up front. You will pay a cost at closing. It's only at closing, and it could range anywhere from 25% to 35%, depends on the program you're in, and depends on the price of the thing. There are no different leads than any other internet leads out there. So if somebody tells you Facebook leads are better than OpCity, they're long.
A lead is a lead, guys. A lead is a lead. What you do with it.
Yeah. And just to give you an idea, in the best scenarios, the best guys who call the leads, you talk about the top of the top premium agents, out of 100 leads, if you close 3, that's amazing. So I know it's Liz shaking her head. She knows exactly what it is, and that's what's going to happen. You'll have to chase them. You'll have to, make sure you're on top of them, because they're clicking. We live in a society that's very click happy, right? Right, left, and center, likes, dislikes. No, I wish we had dislikes, but we don't on social media. But and they click on stuff and goes to some other agents. So your job, and especially the new agent, is to get in front of them right away. We're going to talk about something a little different off topic, but it's somewhere in that page.
Buyer brokerage.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up.
Agreement. Yeah.
Yep.
I personally, that's me. I don't want you to follow my pattern. I don't sign anything. I've never signed it. It's been 17 years. If somebody doesn't want to work with me, I don't want them on my team. I don't want to. It's a very simple agreement that George has put together, that George uses. I think he uses it. And you guys can look at it. It's very simple. It's very friendly towards both parties. It's pretty much, if somebody tells me they don't want to work with me, including the seller, they don't even have to, I don't even have to send them a cancellation. They can email me a cancellation and I'm good enough for that. So going back to that, the conversation you need to have when it comes to pre-approval, just imagine, Liz, let's do a role play. You're my lead.
I'm your
All right.
lead. Okay.
Yeah. Tring, tring.
Hello. Wait, what? Hello.
Hey, Liz, this is Deep. How are you?
Hey, Deep, how are you? What's up?
Good. I saw you. I got your information from realtor.com, and you wanted to look at XYZ Banana Street. Is that true?
Yeah, I was actually in the neighborhood and I wanted to know if I can get in there within the next hour.
Perfect. Perfect. How so in the next hour, is that going to work for you?
Yeah, because I'm driving around. I'm from out of town and I was just looking on Zillow and I really just need to get into this property. I've been eyeballing it for a couple weeks now.
Perfect. Just to let you know, majority of 90% of the agents require a 24-hour notice or some kind of notice from the seller, especially when it's seller occupied. So let me do this. I'm going to look at the actual listing, get the information from the listing agent, and find out if we can do it in the next hour. Which is a good way to communicate with you? Is it by phone? Should I call you or text you? Which makes it easier for you?
You can text me.
Perfect. Great. The other question I have, are you going to be paying cash or are you already pre-approved?
So I'm not pre-approved just yet. I am thinking about financing.
Perfect. Great. Do you already have a lender you work with? Do you want to recommend you one that I'm partnered with?
So I have a lender, but that's from Philadelphia. I'm not sure if they work out here. So do you have
Perfect.
someone that you can refer me to?
110%. Just remember, a lot of times, different states, different rules. So
Okay.
and if he's not licensed in Florida, he cannot help you at all. So it's better to go
Okay.
with somebody local who knows the market better, who knows Florida laws, and if you're not going to have any problem getting that, we can do that. Why don't we do this? I'm going to send you an email or a text introducing my lender with you, and you
Okay.
guys can start the conversation. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and talk to the listing agent, find out how soon can we get in, and we go look at it. Is there anything else in that same area that you saw besides this home, if you're really going to be out there?
There was another one that I was just browsing at. However, I really, I can send you the address, but if you have any other homes in the area that may not have popped up on Zillow, would you mind sending them my way?
Perfect. My question to you is, so if you want me to send you some stuff, can you give me a little bit idea? What are you looking for? So I know this listing that you sent me, it's a 3-bedroom. Is that what you preferred?
So I would prefer a 4-bedroom, but I need a 3-bedroom at least. So if I
Got
have
it.
like a bonus area, that would be ideal.
Are you stuck with the zip code that you sent me in? Is it exact zip code you want to be in because of school district? Do you have kids?
Yes. Yep. I have 3 crazy babies and the school district is super important to me. Plus I work at the hospital right there. So it's ideal for me.
Perfect. So now, what about a pool? You prefer a pool or it's a plus?
A pool would be preferred. However, it's not a deal breaker for me.
Great. Perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at what else is there. First, I'm going to focus on the listing that you sent me. At least get there out there and meet with each other. And at the same time, don't forget, I'm going to send you a separate text with the actual lender so you guys can start the conversation, especially in today's market. I know market's shifting, but at the same time, we're still receiving multiple offers. They're not as much as before. Like initially 3 months ago, we were getting anywhere from 12 to 14 offers on each listing. At this present time, we're still getting few. So I want to make sure that if you and your family like this house, we are prepared so we can put an offer in. Without that, I don't recommend you to even put an offer in. Nobody's going to look at it, take you seriously and take me seriously.
Oh, okay. That would be great. I don't want to lose out on an opportunity on my dream home.
Perfect. Looking forward to seeing you soon, and I'll update you in a few minutes. Peace out.
So I was super easy on deep though. Let's be real. Because
100%.
sometimes I will tell you, sometimes people are like, why are you asking me for this? And those are the rebuttals that you guys need to always have. Like me personally, I'm not driving an hour and a half away to show somebody a house if they're not pre-approved or are a cash offer. Like and the thing is, if they like, oh, we're gonna pay cash, awesome. Can you send me a copy of your proof of funds? They're like, oh, well, no other agent has asked me for that. And I'm very direct. Like, if you know my personality, I'm very high D, very high I. So I'm like super fast paced. I have to learn how to mirror and match depending on the client that I'm talking to. But it's just like, guys, like, I don't want you to lose out on the opportunity of having your dream home. So again, a seller is not even going to consider your offer unless they have something. So even if it's from Ali, don't kill me, even if it's from Rocket Mortgage, at least we have something. However, I'm more than happy to connect you with a local lender that can review all of the documents, just to make sure that everything is good, that there won't be any potential red flags that can pop up during the transaction. And if you have a great relationship with them, absolutely feel free to use whomever you choose. You know what I mean? Have those conversations, guys. But I personally wouldn't take out anyone who doesn't have a pre-approval or proof of funds. I'm not wasting my time. Like, you're talking about I-4 traffic is a nightmare. If you were in Orlando, you're talking about, an hour minimum, depending on where you're going. Guys, gas is expensive. Gas is expensive, and your time is so valuable. Like, if you look at how much work we conduct throughout, let's say one transaction, and if you actually go through and say, hey, I've worked, a maximum, actually focusing on that transaction with that client, 40 hours, let's just call it, and you're about to get a $9,000 commission check, guys, do 9,000 divided by 40. That is what you are worth per every transaction. And if you go to a regular job, are they willing to pay you that amount per hour? Just be strategic, be very open-minded, and just respect your time. Now, as new agents, I know, we have all done it. I can't deny it. I have gone to show property for people who have not had a pre-approval on anything. And guess what, guys? They fell in love with the home and they didn't get it. I was like, oh no, I will never, because it went pending because somebody submitted an offer right after we got there and they accepted the offer. Had I've had the initial conversations when I was on the phone with that person, I would have been able to connect them with the lender while we're driving there, get that pre-approval. If you have really good lender partners, Ali, got to shout you out. You know what I mean? Ali is phenomenal. They will issue you a pre-approval as long as they get the documents that they need, but they do what they need. They review, make sure your lender partners, guys, they have the tax returns, have the W-2s, have the bank statements, everything like that. A lot of realtors don't like having financial conversations with their clients. Guys, that will set you apart from all of your people. So when I'm going through and I'm sending my people for pre-approvals, they already have their documents with the lender because I already told them what they need. I'm like, oh, your W-2, I need your last 2 of your tax returns. I need your last 60 days of your full bank statements, and I need your last 30 days of your pay stubs. And they're just like, wow, I've worked with other agents and they've never asked me for that. Well, that's what differentiates me. I want to make sure that I'm servicing you the absolute best to make sure that you never are in a position to lose the house that you want. It's okay to be a little bit in their financials, guys. I've come across people who never ask the question of like, oh, you never had a conversation about closing costs with your lender? And I'm supposed to know that to negotiate it into a contract when you never had the conversation. You know what I mean? No, when I'm going through my initial conversations with my people, I ask them those questions. Hey, did you have, how much money do you have saved up? Oh, well, we have about 10,000. Okay, what's your price point? What are we looking at? Oh, we want to be around 300. I said, okay, so we're going to connect you with the lender. But me knowing, okay, if they're doing a minimum, they're like, but yeah, we can only do, a minimum down payment. I know for a fact, hey, 2 things are going to result from that conversation with the lender. They're either going to need closing cost assistance or they're going to need down payment assistance. So when I had them gather all of their documents before their conversation with the lender, I'm already talking to the lender like, hey, just a quick heads up. I spoke to them. They have all their documents. You already know that. We're probably going to look into down payment assistance, or I'm going to have to negotiate closing costs because they told me they had about 10 grand. They're like, oh my God, Liz. The lender is like, oh my God, Liz, thank you so much, because 98% of the agents will never have a conversation about financials with their clients. That's what separates me from everyone else. And I highly recommend it, guys. I highly, it will make your life so much easier. But then again, it goes full circle back to, I will never take someone out that doesn't have a pre-approval or a proof of funds.
I'm
And
piggyback on
Tina has
Liz.
her hand up, and
Go
then I
ahead.
have something to add to the pre-approvals. Go ahead,
Going
Tina.
back,
Oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
Tina.
Oh, I had a question regarding the pre-approvals.
Yeah.
How soon? Like, what's the turnaround on that? Like, if I had an open house and somebody's texting me that night, hey, is there an offer? I say, oh, well, have you been pre-approved? Are you ready to go? They won't even look without a pre-approval letter. What's the time? I mean, are you calling a lender, your buddy right then, and they're doing something? How?
Oh,
Depends on that vendor relationship, and it depends on
Yep.
that vendor lender.
Mhm.
Some of them are phenomenal and
phenomenal.
can get you something in less than a couple hours. Some are not on the phenomenal scale,
Yeah.
and you will miss out.
Guys,
So
this
it's
is the
good to know
importance of
your
your,
lenders
yeah,
and
I
what
was
they
going
can
to say
do.
that. It's important because, so right now I'm telling you guys, like, there are phenomenal lenders out there. Let me tell you, there's one that has been trying to earn my business for 2 years now, and he only works 9 to 5, doesn't work weekends. I'm
Wow.
sorry, that doesn't work for me, because if I have a question at 8 o'clock at night about a potential client that just came in and they're like, hey, we need a pre-approval because we want to go see property tomorrow, I can't work with that lender. However, I have, Ali, for example, Jake, that man will answer my call at 11 o'clock at night if I call him. He will work on his personal time. Like, he will walk outside if he needs to during dinner to answer my question or to issue me a pre-approval if he needs to.
How do I?
I've seen it. So
Okay.
I can post it in. Well, I am on my phone, so I have to try to post it in
Liz,
there.
hold off. We can get that information to them later.
Yeah.
Tina, go ahead, finish your, I think you had something else to add on.
No, just the fact that I feel like lenders were just a lot of them. I don't know. I don't really know yet. I'm still new, but I just had somebody the other day, and I sent to 2 people, and I just really wonder because that guy texted me and said, hey, are you going to get them in touch with me? And I thought, I mean, for me, I would be like salivating and jumping to get to that client, but I just don't. I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe they're just so busy right now.
Interview them. Nope. You interview your lenders.
No, they don't have a relationship with you. That's why. They don't know what
Yep.
Tina's done. End of story.
Yep.
Yeah.
You want to
Yep.
work with somebody who's good at it, right?
Yeah.
When people I look up anybody and everybody. If I'm putting an offer on somebody, or I have a listing that I have a buyer's agent I'm working on, first thing before even looking at his offer, I don't care about the damn offer. Offer is no good to me. It's like a
Yeah.
toilet paper. Toilet paper is more useful. I look at what they've done, what kind of achievement they've done, how long they're in business, and the conversation. My crucial part of the deal, I know from the initial, before even getting in a contract, I have these top level conversations with the listing agent or the buyer agent, and same time with the lender.
Yep.
So when you have these conversations, it literally puts out a roadmap for you. Is this deal going to be difficult? Is this going to be a complicated a-hole to deal with? And most of the time, 90% of the time, it's different, depends on your approach. You will get more information out of that listing agent, the buyer's agent, about the buyer they're representing or the seller up front when
Mhm.
you come from
I will,
soft approach.
Tina, and let me tell you, so for example, and a lot of us will witness this, when someone goes on Facebook and just says, hey, I'm looking for an agent in this area. You have like 100 people commenting, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me.
Yeah.
I can assure you, you do the exact same thing, saying, hey, I'm looking to build my lender network who services Florida in this specific area. I can assure you, you will receive, and right now I will tell you, any of us who have been in the business for quite some time, our lenders are calling us, and guess what the conversations are. What can I do to help you in your business? Do you have any, not just buyers, but other realtors that I can work with, that I can help them in their business? Because there's a lot of people getting out and I'm still here to stay. So what can I not only do for your clients, but for your colleagues?
Yeah.
Go, they are going to take you out to lunch. They'll take you out to lunch. They'll take you out to coffee, and you interview them the same way our clients interview us for listing presentations. Like, okay, what can you do to help me? That's what those are the conversations that you have with your lenders. What can you do to help me and to help me grow my business? Well, I can be at open houses. Oh, I can issue, I work 25/9. No, it's like I work 25/9. I can get you a pre-approval as long as I have the documents within, same day, a couple of hours. If I have a question on the weekend, what does your schedule look like? Those are the conversations that you have with your lenders, so that you find out, okay, this person's good, this person's good, this person's good. Because legally, if we're going to send someone to a lender, we have to send them 3 names to cover our ass. Excuse me, I said the A word. But we
Right.
have to cover ourselves. Like, hey, these are my top 3 people. They're in no specific order. They are all phenomenal. I will say, have a conversation with all 3 of them to make sure who you get along with the best. Because remember, everyone's personality is the same. Try not to have similar people, if you will. Like, again, I'm very high D, very high I, very high energy and fast paced. However, I have to have someone who's a little less, who's a little more soft spoken, someone who can explain things in detail. And I also have those people who are very high D, very high I, that know exactly what I want, and I work well with all of them. So you have to cater to your people as well.
And don't worry, guys, we do have an entire day dedicated to working with vendor partners, including lenders, how to work with them, how to interview them, the scripts, the conversations, how to suss out the good ones versus the not so good ones. So,
Yeah.
but
Thank you.
yes, my thing on pre-approvals actually segues us into the next one, which was the showings. Is when you get that pre-approval, go ahead and call the name of the lender on the pre-approval. Because I have had pre-approvals. I've had client, I'm like, okay, you got a pre-approval. Fantastic. Can you send it to me? And what they sent was not a pre-approval. I knew it wasn't a pre-approval. The client thought it was. So I called the lender, said, hey, I asked for a pre-approval and they sent me something. This is on the email and it's direct forwarded from you. Can you tell me a little bit more about this? And have you even issued a pre-approval letter that I could use? The lender sang like a canary. She's like, no, I told them I wasn't going to pre-approve them because of this, and this, and this is too bad, and this isn't going to work. I said, thank you. What I did next is I played dumb. I went back to the client and I said, thank you for sending this over. However, this doesn't look like a pre-approval. Can you please request one from your lender? Because I knew she was going to have to go back to the lender. The lender was going to do her job and say, I can't give it to you because you still owe me X, Y, and Z. Yep. 3 days later, same client hits me up again. Oh, can we go look at this one? Of course we can. I would love to schedule that. And as soon as I get that pre-approval, I can do so. Can you send that to me now? She never sent it because she didn't get it. Regardless, I have seen fake pre-approvals. I've seen self-generated pre-approvals. Okay. The works. You have to call. Unless you have that relationship with your lender. Like if I sent someone to Ali and I get a letter, a pre-approval, and it's got all of Ali's stuff on it, I'm going to text Ali and be like, thanks for the pre-approval. He's going to say, no problem. I'm like, cool, good. We're good to go. And that's fine. But if it comes from a lender that you have never heard of, never worked with, whatever, sometimes I even go look at them on Facebook. Yes. I'm like, what are you doing? Who are you? But if everything works out, then you go on to the showings, which is our next section, which is.
Going back to what Tiffany was saying, it's very crucial, guys. This is a team effort. It's not just Liz and or me in the transaction. You've got the lender, you got the buyer's agent, you got the buyer, you got the seller, seller's agent, the title company. There are 6 people involved in this process. If one person is slacking, one person drops the ball, the deal falls apart and affects every one of us, including you. So deal, you're not getting paid. So I always talk to the listing agent. I always talk to the lender. I always call them, hey, I just want to make sure, do you need more time? Even when it's my listing, I call buyer's lender and tell them, hey, he put 25 days. You can close in 25 days. It's like, oh, hell no, I can't. I haven't even signed the contract yet. And I already know that this is going to be a difficult challenge for me.
Yep.
The good part is I already know ahead of time. Then I do some homework on the lender. The lender says, no, you know what? I'm going to need 35 days. It's going to be a problem. I said, no, it should not be a problem. And I go back to the buyer agent and tell them, oh, no, we want to close in 25 days. Now the buyer's agent's being unrealistic. He hasn't even had a conversation with them to find out if the person can really do this job in 25 days. And that's the equation we're going to, in this shifting market, is going to make you stand out. Because you're on top of your shit. You know what the lender's doing. Lender's behind. I'm on a listing part. I call the lender, buyer's lender, saying, hey, your commitment letter is due in 4 days. Are we good with that? They're like, oh, yeah. And 90% of the time, they always tell me, you're the very rare breed out there that calls, especially your listing agent.
Yep.
And this is pretty sad because in our business, a lot of these big corporate, red balloons and red Ks, and they all talk about get under contract and forget about the deal and let somebody else handle it. You got to be on top of it. There's nothing wrong with somebody having a deal, but make sure you create those guidelines for those person that they follow up. My calendar, as soon as I goes in contract, I have calendars on my own personal phone. A couple of days before, inspection's expiring, this is expiring, that's expiring. I know ahead of time. You don't want to be caught, with no clue, and all of a sudden you represent a buyer and your commitment letter is not there. Now you have no leverage to argue if something really comes up. Then sellers got your damn escrow deposit. It's very crucial. The approach me and Liz did when we did the call, that was like a more warm call. It's like a referral call, so it was much easier. And I agree with Liz to a point that you got to get a pre-approval letter. I think now being in the business long enough, and she's been in the business long enough, we get to a level that we can say that. And I understand a lot of these young guys, young people who have been in the business, just started this year. You're going to say, oh, how the hell am I supposed to do that? So this is where this is the practice you get that we keep on talking about, getting practice. First is always go with your gut. If your gut's not feeling it, it's going to be stinking. Run. I've always stuck with it. Here and there, I try to give somebody a benefit of doubt, and it falls apart in front of me. Second of all, these obsidian leads and other leads are sometimes overwhelming. People who have no leads coming, they want to react today, like second, and I get it, but do some homework on the listing. Look at the listing, talk to them. Oh, I don't have a pre-approval letter. Oh, but I don't think so. I'm going to have a problem meeting. That's okay, as long as you feel the right tone from them and you feel good about it. Make one appointment. If it's not like Liz lives in Haines City, that's like 5 hours from Orlando, so I would never do that. But if it's something local, 20-minute drive, 25-minute drive, this is your business. You got to invest time and effort in it, right? This is the way you're going to learn from it. So next time when a person like a client calls you, a buyer calls you, you know what to do, and you're gonna feel that gut. And it's like, you know what? No, I really, and most of the time, sometimes I know for new agents, it's hard to say no. This is what I do. Oh, I just looked up the listing. The listing agent requires a pre-approval letter. They can't pull that up.
Not on the
It's in
MLS.
realtor remarks.
Yep.
They can't pull that up. You blame people. I do that all the time. Somebody's like, oh, I got a doctor who wants to go look at $1 million home. I know he can afford it. But they don't want to get a pre-approval. Nah, I'm a doctor. Anybody's gonna give it to me. Oh, this agent's
Not
asking for
true.
proof of fund. Exactly. Even at any level, you have to create guards for yourself, protections. That's what we call it. Like, Bobby was giving an example when we were on a mentee call. It's like bowling alley. You have those bumpers up. This is your bumpers. This keeps you on track. When you kind of
Blame
get off
other
track,
people.
yeah, blame other people. Always. Oh, my team member won't allow me. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I have a question. This will be interesting to get some insights from the more experienced agents. And this is an impression I've gotten, and I want to know if I'm totally off base on this. So it's been my observation that on some of the deals I've worked with, when I've worked with a mortgage broker, that it just hasn't gone as well as if I'm working with a lender where they do the underwriting directly on their own team. So, I don't want to generalize on this, but I'd love to hear what some people think. Are you better off to generally go with a team where they do their own underwriting, or have you guys all had great experiences with mortgage brokers?
I've had phenomenal experiences with both. So it's honestly who you have on your team and what they're willing to do in order to get the job done. So for example, Ali and his team, they're brokers. So they can go to UWM, this, that, and the third. However, there's someone that I partnered with a few years ago. She's phenomenal. One of the, best LOs in Florida. I think she was ranked number 3. She worked with Homebridge, and they do all of their underwriting in-house. So, they can go and knock on the door, a couple doors down, and say, hey, Mr. Underwriter, I need you to fix this, blah, 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 blah. However, again, it's all on work ethic. As long as they're on top of the game, like I set my expectations with my lenders when I'm having the conversation. I'm like, I want updates 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Like, I want to know where we are in the process. I want to know, I'm sorry, I'm on a call. I'm like, I want to know, updates Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I want to know where we are in the process. And this is not me just as a buyer's agent, but this is as the listing agent as well. So I'm like, okay, did you get, and that's just the conversation that I have with them. So as long as you're doing that, I think you're going to be fine. And just setting the right expectations with these lenders when you're working with them, so that they don't fall short and you always look like the hero. Deep, what would you add to that?
Same thing. I had experienced both. Both's fine for me. It's worked both ways. It's all about relationship. How badly do they want the business, right?
Yep.
It really comes down to that.
Yep.
You're gonna, in your lifetime on the real estate, you're gonna go through multiple lenders, multiple title companies, multiple relationships. It's like anything else, multiple inspection companies. You got to narrow it down to the right team. What makes you. You got to find the team that takes less time out of your pocket.
Dream team. That's what I call mine.
You need a member of the team that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
drain you. In real estate, that's number one. If you have a lender who drains you, you need to find a new lender. Why?
Yep.
You should not be following up with him. He should be following up with you. Same thing when it comes to title company. Same thing with, they need to be on top of it. They're not just,
Yep.
I'm going to wait till Deep calls me. No, I get so many offers for drinks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, every title company in town. I can buy my own stuff, and I try them just to give them benefit of doubt. I never get what I want. I have one person who's shift 3 offices, and she's my girl. That's it. 11 years I've got her. She knows exactly how I work. She knows how to deal with Canadian clients. I have a lot of Canadian clients. She knows how to deal with FREPTA. She always finds, she's by the book. Sometimes she can drive me up the wall, and it's very easy to drive me up the wall. But I know she's protecting me and my client.
Yep.
That's the feed I look for, nothing else. Let's go to
and I just
question.
I'd like to add one thing real quick. Those experiences I have with some of the other brokers were before I met Jake and Allie. And Jake and Allie have been just unbelievable. So I didn't want to create any impression that was negative about brokers in general, but I will say that I did have some experience that are not great, but with Jake and Allie, it's been amazing. So I want that to be clear to everybody on that.
No.
Yep.
It was not a bad question you had. It's a good question. We want, the new agents to figure this part out. It's the relationship. It's somebody who's been in the business long enough, who's on top of their shit. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
Go ahead, Alina. Then we go to Ali after that. Alina, you have a question? Did you fall asleep?
Be nice.
He's
Alina,
always mean to
Alina, you
her.
have your hand up.
maybe she's busy.
She said,
Ollie.
"Hey,
I know,
ho,
Ollie,
hey."
you go
Yeah,
while
Ollie,
Alina
you're
figures
next.
it out.
All right, thanks, guys. Just real quick on just adding a couple to answer your question, Keith, there. Actually, Tiffany, we might schedule just one session just to talk about pre-approval, what's happening behind the scenes on the back end where we're trying to give you a pre-approval, and what are the differences between a pre-qualification, a pre-approval, and then a conditional approval, because conditional approval is the gold star of approvals. Pre-approval, literally, like if you go to Rocket, you can just put in your information on their website and they'll generate a pre-approval for you. To me, that's trash, because there's no legitimacy behind that. And I've talked to this with our LOs. When you have a buyer, they're either approved or they're not approved. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant, right? That pre-approval is the pregnancy test, right? And so it's not too difficult to know if a buyer is approved or not. So when it comes to that, it's really important that the gold star of approvals is the conditional approval. It requires more documentation. It requires a little bit more in depth of questioning. But if you got a pre-qualification, throw that away. That's worthless. Pre-approval really depends on who is issuing it. But conditional approval is by far the gold star, and you know that person is qualified. But Keith, going back to your question about brokers and lenders, every broker is dealing with a lender. The key difference between what lenders are good and which lenders are not good is really the caliber of their underwriters, especially their senior underwriters, because every lender has a senior underwriter look at the loan application first. Once they go ahead and issue the conditional approval on that file, they turn it over to what they call a junior underwriter, underwriter 2. That underwriter 2 is the one who you'll deal with for the rest of the process to get it to clear to close by clearing conditions. So are brokers better than lenders? We tend to like brokers a little bit better only because we can shop and deal with multiple lenders. So we know, for example, if the borrower's middle credit score is 619, I'm not sending that to UWM, United Wholesale Mortgage. I'm sending that to Home Point, because I know Home Point is much more lax on their credit versus UWM is. If I send that to UWM, I'm going to have a ton more conditions that I have to go back to you as the realtor or to the buyer and say, I'm going to need this, and this, which I call, I don't want to aggravate them. I don't want to, give them more homework. So that's the difference. Is usually most lenders that do in-house lending are very limited to what they can do because they have very strict guidelines, since they're essentially taking on the entire risk of that loan. So difference between brokers and lenders, it really comes to the caliber of the senior underwriter.
Ollie, we're gonna do a class on that.
Ollie, I was
Some of
gonna say
people
the
are-
20th. I just put it onto the calendar. That's my next available date, and I'm also following up with you via email.
Yeah,
But
I think
just so you know, I kind of
what-
went ahead and secured that day for you because I'd rather.
Yeah, whatever
20th
he
of
said was.
September?
Yes,
Yeah,
20th September.
Yeah, 20th is great. And here's the one other thing. We just have a secret tool that we just rolled out. It's called the soft pull. So if you've got somebody who's really resistant, no, I don't have time to do a pre-approval, show my income or anything, let us talk to them real quick. We can do what's called a soft pull. And essentially, I'm pulling one of their credit scores. It will not impact their credit. It doesn't show as a hard inquiry, so it's not going to impact their credit. But if that credit score comes back and it's a 513, we're not going anywhere. There's no bank that I know will pre-approve you a 513. You can go to a private lender, like a hard money lender. But if I see that 513, I can say that you're wasting your time. There's no way this person is going to be able to get approved anywhere, whether it's a broker or lender. But if that credit score comes back and it's 678, okay, go out and show. Maybe you guys don't click after a couple of showings and you could go separate ways. Or maybe after a couple of showings, you could say, let's sit down, let's get our lender on the phone. We'll go through the process, get you fully approved, which is a conditional approval. And then that way we've got carte blanche. We can go out and write it up. I always like to, when I'm a real estate agent and I put my real estate hat on, I always like to use analogies. So I say, could you imagine if you have your kid and you got a babysitter coming over to babysit for the first time? Wouldn't you check their credentials? Like, do they have a arrest record? Have they been convicted of any crimes? What's their reputation? That's exactly what sellers do with buyers too. They're very skeptical. So if you're not pre-approved and your lender is very strong about that pre-approval, those are checking your credentials. Same thing with a pilot. Do you want a pilot to, when they get in the plane, you want to make sure they've checked the engine, checked the fuel, make sure everything's working. You don't want to have the pilot say, well, I'm not really sure how much fuel we have. I didn't take a look around the plane to see if anything's loose or falling off. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's go to destination. Absolutely not. Same thing why you want to make sure your buyers have a really good lender to get them pre-approved, knowing that they can get it to the closing line. And then one last thing, I always use this script. If a buyer asks me, hey, no other agents has asked me for this information, they're resisting, I say, because no other agent is as dedicated or committed to get you in your house versus all these other buyers who are going to be our competition looking at those amazing homes as well. I just want to make sure that I'm the most dedicated and committed to getting you that house. And that's why I need you to get it pre-approved.
Perfect. Thanks, Ali. Well, we can't wait till the class that you do on September 20th. I think some people are kind of a little lost with the numbers that you threw out there. So, and people, we're just going to hold off on the questions for now because we have a couple more sections we want to go through, and it's already 9:45. I want to respect everybody's time. Liz, you want to start on the showing? You're mute.
Sorry, guys. So something that I like to do for showings that we all is start with the worst, go all the way to the best. So what I like, personally, I like to map it out to see, what's going to be the most efficient way. That's what most of us tend to do. However, the book right now is telling us to go to work worst to best because it gets to build up that anticipation for that client where they see something and it's like, oh, okay, this is nice. And then they walk into the next one and they're just like, oh, okay, this one's a lot nicer. And what I do, something that I think would help a lot of you is I tell them, I'm like, guys, we're going to grade. So if we're going to go see 5 houses today, we're going to rate each one 1 through 5. And what we're going to do is we're going to go see the first house. And if you absolutely love it, what's your scale rate it from 1 to 5? Okay, I'm going to give this one a 4 right now. And we get to the next property and we see that. And it's just like, oh, this one is a hot mess. Absolutely not. We're going to put that at a 1. And then we're going to go to the third house and we're going to see that one. And I'm like, okay, would you rate this one better or worse than the first 2 that we saw? This one's definitely better than the second one, but I still like number 1 better. Okay, so right now we have our first house that we showed is the best one that we've seen so far. Then we'll go see 3 and 4 and go from there. So by the time we are done all of our showings, and as we're having the conversations in each house, or if me personally, some people do their business differently. I don't put people in my car. I don't trust people. I'm crazy. I'm from up north, so I'm very skeptical. And I allow people to drive themselves. However, I like to have the conversations with people in each home because I want to know how they're feeling. I'm like, so how did you feel in the house? How did you like this? And they will talk. People love to talk about themselves, so let them talk. And then you go through and you find out. And as you're walking through the property, a lot of people look at me like I'm crazy because I can walk through a property and it can take me 10 minutes at max. But if you see me, I'm walking up, I'm looking up at the ceilings, looking through the ventilation to see if I see any leaks. I go to the ACs. I'm looking for the age of the ACs. If it's rubbed off or anything, I know it's an older unit. Take a copy of the seller's disclosure, guys. I think like a lot of us tend to not do that. Take a copy of your seller's disclosure. If there's something that has, shut up, Deep. I saw your comment. Take a look at the water heater, guys. Look at the condition of the home, test do this to your countertops, test to see if it's granite or quartz. You know what I mean? As you're walking through, you should have your eyes looking at 10 different things because the people that are walking through, they're just looking at the house. They're not looking at the important parts. So when before I'm prepping for my showing, I know I'm writing on my MLS sheet, okay, roof, this year. If there's anything about the AC that was, because most people, if you go on the MLS, the first thing they're going to highlight on their description, new roof 2021, new AC 2022, new water heater. So I already know these things before I'm doing it. But if they're not advertising it, more than likely it's older. So you need to be the one to go through and take a copy of the seller's disclosure. And when you're there, look at the age of these units. Or if you're in, for our Orlando people, you can go onto Orange County Property Appraiser's website. You can go and you can look for the permit. So you can see the last time a roof permit was pulled, the last time they did a mechanical permit for an
Plumbing or water
AC.
heater. Yeah.
The water heater, all of that good stuff. So when you're going through, you kind of know, okay, this, I see a water heater is brand new, but there wasn't a permit. Did a handyman do it? Typically, you don't need somebody to pull a permit for a water heater, but that's a separate conversation. But anyway, or if you see that they extended the deck on the house, but there wasn't a permit pulled for it, does a permit need to be pulled for that? So just, keep yourselves in mind, guys. I think that's pretty much it, guys. Like, just
Look,
look past the house, look at the bones of the home for your people, because they're looking at the pretty part of it or the ugly part.
yeah, I totally agree with Liz. The couple of things. One major thing I want to tell, and I can't repeat this whenever who works with me on 101. I say this, repeat this all the time. Read the damn MLS. Read the MLS. 90%, 99% of the time, everything on the house, it's already there. If it's not in the description, it's in the realtor remarks. If it's not in the realtor remarks, it's in the attachment. Biggest pet peeve. Oh, how old is the roof? Did you read the MLS? No.
Like, that's the first sentence on the
First
MLS.
thing.
New roof.
New roof. People look at it. Oh, I'm gonna look at this condo. Can you show it to me? And they're like, oh, Deep, I want to show this condo. What do I do? Call the listing agent. I said, did you read any instructions? Is there any special instruction? Oh, no. Why? What do I need to read instruction? Because it's rented. How are you going to get access to it? Basic questions, basic things. Open the disclosures. It's all there. If it's not there, call the agent. Hey, I see you didn't put these information. Do you have any idea how old the roof is? Look at the bigger pictures. Roof, plumbing, AC, the structure. That's it. You see big cracks, something major, then you bring it up as an issue. In Florida, everything settles. So they have cracks all over. This is common. Every house has a crack. If somebody says they don't have a crack, they're lying. Every building has a crack. And so you have to educate the buyer. Buyer doesn't know that. When they're buying, they have no clue what they're doing. They freak out. The wife will freak out. Oh my God, look at that crack going through the block. It's common. After a few years, the property levels, settles, and then you have the crack. How do you fix the crack?
As long as it's not bigger than a quarter.
That's it. Yeah. If more than quarter, you don't need to fix it. It's very simple. You put putty in it, feel it up, paint on top of it. You're not going to see it until the next crack shows up. So I always look at every instructions that I can get, as much information on the condo, as many comps I can find for the neighborhood. I do not do a 5-mile radius. Bullshit. If you're going to one neighborhood and it's a condo, if it's a single family home, I bet you there's going to be same model, same look there multiple times that's sold in the past or are active. You compare it. You bring that basic. This is the guideline you're creating. You're creating a roadmap for them. They don't need this right this second, but if they have this conversation, if Liz and me are showing the house, Liz is like, oh my God, I really like this. So really, you want to put an offer? It's like, yeah. What do you think is going to be a good time, or what's a good price? Now you're having that serious conversation. Hey, you know what? The last few of them sold for this, but the other one that sold was fully upgraded. This one is not. So what do you think? I think it's going to be very close to the asking price, even in this market. Okay. And other thing I do is let them sit on it for a few minutes. And sometimes, husband and wife don't want to discuss that, what offer they're going to do, because the wife thinks one thing and the husband thinks one thing. Husband always wants it cheaper and the wife always wants to pay more. And I let them fight. I don't want to be the referee. I love being the referee most of the time, but when it comes to buyers, I don't. I let them decide that. I said, you know what? When you're driving home, think about it. By then I'm going to try to give up more information, see if there's something I missed that I was not able to find. I'm going to call the listing agent, find out. My job is, as soon as I'm leaving Liz, get in the car, first thing I'm calling is Tiffany. Hey, Tef, I saw your listing. Really shows really well. Good job with the pictures. I'm trying to connect at some level. Hey, it's been in the market for 3 weeks. What's the story? Was you in the contract? Oh, we almost had one. It didn't come through. The seller easy to work with, or is it difficult to work with? No. They're really sweet people. They gotta move. They're already packed up. They're waiting for the trailer to come. Right there. These are like bells and whistles going in my head. Ah, perfect. They're walking away. They're about to move. They're getting emotionally disconnected from the house. Now you can negotiate.
Yeah.
I look for these basic tools. Then by the time I come to the office, I'll look up more on the house. And by the time I get there, I'm like, hey, did you guys think about it? Oh yeah, what do you think? I'm like, I think this is the right price. Or sometimes I even send them the link of the ones that sold from MLS, so they can click on the pictures. I want them to relate to different pictures and compare it themselves. Would you have paid that one for this, or you think it's the right price? Because then they can see apples to apples. Same house, same look, but different upgrades.
Yep.
The one we were in, there were no upgrades. The other one was much upgrade. That's why it went a little higher. So in that sense. And I tell them, I said, we are in the market to negotiate. So we can negotiate now, we can try, can promise you. And you create that, roadmap again. Then you find out how much, hey, is it, it's $400,000 house. Are you guys okay with $5,000 escrow? Yeah, that's perfect. Great. Now you know what you need. So what do you think? 7-10 days inspection? Oh, no, we can do 7-day inspection. Perfect. How soon do you guys want to move in? These conversations you got to have at the first meeting, when you're doing the instruction. Normally these takes 30 to 45 days, depends on the process. No, my lender said you can do it in 20 days. Don't listen to freaking any lender. Ali, I hope you don't hold me back for this, but it's not Ali's fault. It's the lender. Everybody wants the business, but a lot of coaches out there says just put the wrong amounts and you can negotiate later. People hate that. When
I
you
hate
lie to
that.
them, and listing agents hate that. So try to avoid that. Try to create that relationship. Next time you work with that agent, makes your life much easier. It's like,
Just a tidbit, guys, like when you're submitting an offer, I'm so sorry, Deep, really quick. When you're doing an off, when you're submitting an offer, if your lender's telling you, hey, I can close it in 21 days, or I can close it in, 25 days. Okay, great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on or before this day, and it's going to be 30 days. So you give yourself time to cover your ass. However, you look like the hero if you can do it sooner. I'm like, hey, guess what? We just got clear to close, and we can close. Once we know that hey, we already got loan approval. We're ready. We're good to go. Would your sellers be willing to close a week early? You look like the hero.
Okay.
And then you close, then you close in 21 days. So on my offers, every time I submit something, I put on or before this date.
I even have the conversation with the listing agent before putting the offer in. I'm like,
Yep.
hey, is there something the seller wants? Like, do they need a little extra time frame? You want to do everything right by them, but at the same time, right by your buyer. Because if there's an
Absolutely.
urgency with your buyer, you let them know up front. Hey, Liz, I really need to, get them in the house by end of the month because their lease expires and they want the kids to be in the school and all that BS. And till the time you don't find that, you're not gonna know. So, and sometimes the listing agent will say, oh yeah, you know what, let me talk to the buyer and figure it out. Or at least you've created an expectation as a conversation, so people don't forget that. So if Liz comes back and or the lender comes back in 30 days or 25 days, said, hey, we're ready to close earlier, I know Liz had this conversation with me initially. I'll remember that. Oh yeah, we talked about it. Let me go ask my seller again one more time. And they say, great, we do it.
Yep.
It's simple, guys. It's not that complicated. We make this complicated. We pull this RPR and this and that and go with the basics. Like shit, this is recorded. So I don't have a buyer's presentation. I don't have a listing agreement. I don't have a listing agreement. I don't have a listing presentation. I take a net sheet and a comp sheet, and 99% of the time they see the bottom number. They don't even make it to the second page of the commission. If you do your job right from day one, the discussion would not come to the money. I try to find out for the seller. Oh, Liz, I know we're gonna list this house at 450. Do you know what kind of idea you have a mortgage? Oh, I think it's like 200,000. Perfect. So when I do my net sheet for my title company, I say, hey, put 200,000 there. Now when Liz sees the damn thing, her as a seller, they only care about one thing: what's in their
Bottom
pocket.
net.
Bottom net. The first page has that. It shows 200 there for $400,000 house. She's making 180,000. They're like, they look at each other. They just look at there is no discussion about commissions.
I
They
have
haven't got to the
not had
second
to
page
have a
yet.
conversation with, I've always take 6% listings, have never had an issue with it because
Yeah.
they are focused on the bottom number.
We
That's a
have
different
question
conversation.
That's a different
from
conversation.
Liz, from a
Yeah.
different Liz Lyon in the chat, saying, I usually put the date and add or sooner. Does that work? Or do you add a text box and add on or before plus the date?
No,
I think
no,
it's
so-
going to depend
same
on
box.
your contract. What,
correct.
Liz, because for me in Virginia, I end up putting it into additional terms. It's like at the very last page, and I'm just put
Yeah.
buyer and seller agree to turn or to close on or before this date.
Yeah, so Liz, I'm not sure if you're here in Orlando. I actually have an area where I can put it on far bar where it says the closing date. So when it auto populates, it allows me to click the date, or I can type in. So I'll put on or before, and then I'm able to put the actual date on there. So again, it depends on your contract. Also consult with your state broker at that point, because some may not allow it, some may or may not. And then also chat with your lender to find out if that can be put on there. So before I'm going through and I submit an offer, I talk to my lender and say, hey, do you think this is going to pose an issue when I'm putting this on there? And and go from there. However, like Deep said, I have the initial conversations up front with the listing agent if I'm on the buy side and say, hey, I chatted with the lender, they've already already submitted all the documents and everything. We just need to find a house, to be honest. They're already through preliminary underwriting. We can potentially close, in 20 days. However, I'm going to put 30 days just to make sure that everyone is good. We won't have any issues. However, are they open to closing, in 21 days or whatever the case is? So just definitely verify, but I know that typically the lenders that I work with and in my board, I am able to do that.
It really depends on lenders. Some lenders will
Yeah.
require, if they're going to close 6 days before, addendum signed by both parties saying they'll be closing on that actual particular date. And that's very simple. Nobody ever has a problem signing that document because they're all
Correct.
excited. It's
Correct.
closing earlier than normal. Sellers ready, as long as it's agreed by everybody. So don't. Those parts are simple, and more you're going to get comfortable with your lender partners. You'll know what the guidelines are. You don't have to call your lender every time, right? If Liz is working with Ali or anybody else, she knows what Ali requires. She knows well, Ali's going to need 30 days or 40 days. So she creates that map on the contract and aware. And whenever I send the contracts out, we always break down everything on the contract. The big portions, the purchase price, the inspection period, the escrow deposit, conventional loan, FHA, whatever they tell me and in the document says. Sometimes you'll be surprised that they've had multiple conversations with the lender, and the lender decided to say, oh, go with FHA, and then you're going to save money here, save money there. And according to that, you can change that. So right there, it got, instead of a lot of agents just send, see attached, sales contract. No, break it down for them, dummy it down.
Yes.
Say, this is the closing dates. These are bullet points. I'm not telling you to spell it out.
Deep knows. So one thing that is a pet peeve for me as a listing agent is if you're going to submit an offer on my listing, I expect and so for example, let's say I have a home and I have multiple offers, right? I've had a conversation with all the, whoever I've had a conversation with, the person that I connect with the best is probably the one that I'm going to talk up to my sellers. Did they send me all the attachments when they submitted the offer? And I will tell you, you know what? Scratch that. Just on the buy side, guys, when you're going through and you're submitting offers, make sure you're not only just submitting the contract, but submit all of the documentation that goes with it. So for example, in Florida, you have to, we need an FHA, rider E if it's an FHA loan. Make sure you have that addenda attached to your offer. Make sure you're sending the pre-approval. Make sure you're sending if it's, hey, if you need rider P, which is the sale, it's contingent upon the sale of their property, have the seller's disclosure, have the HOA, have the lead-based paint. Make sure you have every single attachment that pertains not just to your contract, but any attachments that the listing agent posted on the MLS that has to coincide with the offer. So make sure you have all of that plus your pre-approval or proof of funds. Then in your email, make it easy for the listing agent. Hey, this is going to be your purchase price. This is going to be escrow. This is how many days of inspection periods, any contingencies that, seller agrees to pay 3% towards closing costs, towards buyer's closing costs and concessions. Buyer needs to sell property at XYZ. Make sure you list all of those things. What's your loan approval? Make sure you make it easy for them, because it's like, and when we were going through a frenzy where we had so many offers, like you're talking about, crap, I have 10, this agent has 10 offers. Like, what can I do to stand out? Do that now, guys. Implement it into your business now to make it easy. I don't know if we have like an email template that you can send out to your listing agents. I have one. I'm happy to share it with anyone. If you guys want a copy of it, definitely just shoot me a text or an email and I can show you what I have, what I use out when I'm sending out offers, and we can go from there. But yeah, guys, like, it's super important. I will recommend take contract classes, guys. Do not be that person that gets shot in the foot for not knowing their contract. You need to know your ins and outs. You need to know what the deadline is for your inspection period and when you need to submit release and cancellation or your addenda for repairs. Financing, you need to know when you are. So for me, like Deep said, as soon as I go under contract on something, I just hired a transaction coordinator. Claire would be very happy and angry with me at the same time if you saw her if she was on this call. But when as soon as we go under contract, I'm already reaching out to title, the lender, the listing agent, sending all the executed documents. I am sending calendar invites, not just to myself, but to my clients. Hey, inspection period ends on this day. Hey, we need loan approval on this day. Hey, we have an expected closing date of this day. Then I'm also sending them the calendar invites of when the inspections and the appraisal are, to make sure that everyone is aligned. Hey, we need loan commitment by this, blah, 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 so that I'm covering myself. So in the event that when I'm going through and I'm asking for updates and check-ins, I know where I am in every part of the transaction, because there's so many ways to get sued in this business, and you do not want to be in this business to give up money. Point blank simple. So yeah, getting to know them and write your first offer, guys. Practice.
Guys, you guys
Make
need to go
mock-ups.
open up houses, go without a client, go open a listing, walk through listing, get a feel of
Yep.
what doors are, open an electronic lockbox, open a regular lockbox. Agents go to properties that have no clue how to open anything.
Guys, if all of this seems a little overwhelming, I want you to remember that you have for those that are with GPS, you have the checklist. There's a reason
Yes.
why on the new agent tab, we put you through Hell Week. You hear us
Yes.
joke about like the crazy parts, but the actual doing of and the application of Hell Week is amazing. It wants you to go out and show houses. It wants you to schedule. So it teaches you to read the damn showing notes and navigate in the MLS. Sometimes it says showing time versus calling the agent versus texting the agent. You get to see what all of those scenarios are like if you follow that. The different lock boxes, like,
Guys,
come on,
really
guys.
quick.
You need
really
to go
quick,
through this. I
really quick. If
promise.
you want a copy of my template, email me, because I'm on my phone and I can't see everything. So, Tiffany, can you just put my Elizabeth Quinones at eXp Realty
Yes, let me
in the
pop
chat?
that in there.
Send me an email.
It might take few weeks because it's coming from Haines City, so.
Oh my
don't be
gosh,
surprised.
you're gonna.
Oh, Deep,
Guys,
you
really
might have a
quick-
drive-by at your house tonight.
I know he
There's-
is looking for it.
So I
but guys,
There's
think
her
we,
email. I just put it into the chat so you guys can.
Tiff,
Thank
did
you.
we go over everything? Did we miss anything that you need to know?
No, that was
You're the
pretty much
teacher.
everything, and we dropped it into the chat. I'm
think,
gonna
guys,
drop
we
the
went
file
over, like,
again.
Hour and a half with this call. It was overwhelming. I really appreciate everybody being on the call. And
Yeah.
Liz, thank you. Tiff, thank you.
Of course.
And if you guys want
We have a couple guests on the call.
Yeah, if you want a couple of,
Shay and Ronnie.
and if people have questions, this is the time. Just raise your hand and
Yes.
just ask
Yeah.
as many questions as you can. There's no silly questions. Trust me when I tell you that.
Yeah, I'm
We
gonna
prefer you
stop
guys
the
knowing it
recording.